And that is us live. Thank you very much to all of you who are joining us for Yulia's presentation on stories with local content to instill cultural awareness in young learners. So I'll turn the floor over to you, Yulia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everyone. Good day, everyone. Actually, I'm a little bit nervous here. It's my first time presenting in this kind of forum. Hopefully, I can speak clearly and all of the ideas that I prepare can be delivered and catch well. So it's a pleasure and honor for me to be able to present here, since I have been following about extensive reading like for the past 3 years and have a very high interest in it. And allow me first to introduce myself. I'm Yulia Loekito. Usually people call me Lia. I'm a certified TESOL facilitator from Yogyakarta, Indonesia, which is in Java Island. And I also found an independent learning community together with my colleagues and my friends, which emphasizes in language, cultural, and environmental learning as its core activities. Home-based library is also organized here in the community that I run together with my friends to support reading groups in which extensive reading and extensive listening are applied to some extent. I also manage a publishing house which mainly publish children's storybook, mostly picture books written in vernacular languages and local script. And also I also write some children picture book and chapter books as well. Later on in the presentation, I would like to show it to all of you. Right, so this is a practice-based presentation about how stories with local content might instill cultural awareness among children. Its role as the opening gate of cultural identity recognition, as well as broad discussion upon other topics ranging from cultural roots, such as tolerance or finding similarities or differences among cultures, will also be discussed here. To begin with, among abundance of early childhood and language study experts in this occasion, I would rather feature Indonesian's fathers of education, Ki Hajar Dewantara's thought. Why? Beyond other reasons, Ki Hajar Dewantara had compassion and better knowledge about his own country's people characteristic or local expertise, if I may say. However, he did not erect his thought solely based on his own belief. His belief came from adaptation of several educational expertise, valuable thoughts from that era, which are still well known and, in my opinion, still applicable until today, namely Dr. Maria Montessori, Froebel, and Rudolf Steiner. Since he had concern, Ki Hajar Dewantara, about how schools could plan, instill, and fertilize cultural identity root to grow deeper, especially in children. So like he made kind of a mixture of Maria Montessori's analytical thought, which prioritized human senses in the method of learning, Froebel's thought, which put the completeness of human soul, and how art takes an important role in education to develop students' motoric and rhythmic instinct to further develop their moral ethic, as stated by Rudolf Steiner. This kind of mixture was implemented after had been being adapted to local culture in the schools that he built. The school's called Taman Siswa. Here, the school was based in Java. But unfortunately, maybe today Ki Hajar Dewantara's thought was not, not put into much consideration anymore. So I would like to put it back into our thought right now. And based on that, Ki Hajar Dewantara was convinced that exposure to dolanan, which is the Japanese word for traditional game, and tembang, which is also the Japanese word for song or chant, and drama or play, and dongeng, again the Japanese word for stories, with local and culturally rich contents are ideal tools to facilitate young learners. He believed it really could support them to grow higher and tougher as human beings with strong identity and deep cultural root, yet tolerance later in their lives. At the first place, he believed that art and stories here, the one that is connected with extensive listening and extensive reading, we get the story here, infiltrated children instinct unconsciously, right to the heart before it comes up later to the learner's consciousness and further become awareness. Traveling back to the era of colonialization, actually, Ki Hajar Dewantara was, this thought and action were considered urgent, especially to set the country into freedom. But nowadays, when freedom have been achieved by many countries, maybe especially in Asia, however, this thought and action, the urgency of rooting children on their culture is still remain, I think, in my opinion. Because now we have stepped into another era called globalization and also the era of technology and internet, which somehow contributing to the extinction of several parts of human's culture proceeded throughout the civilization. Therefore, nowadays, we find cases where children and families are losing their cultural identity at an alarming rate phase. Right, so that's why this is nowadays urgency when children and families losing their cultural identity. That's actually, that's what I observed that happened around me in the big cities in Indonesia. Maybe in the villages area, it's still, the cultural root and identity are still preserved, but in the cities area, what is it? It's losing now. And also, according to, in accordance to that, vernacular language extinction is also happening at an alarming rate speed. I also mentioned this when I presented for Asian Festival of Children content last year. Even the UNESCO has concern about it and conduct the International Year of Indigenous Languages to raise awareness about the urgent need to preserve, revitalize, and promote indigenous languages around the world. Okay, so in accordance to that, here I would like to share some practices of extensive listening and extensive reading, which is actually go in line with the urgency, and also like this one is like the way out that we can do about this urgency about cultural root in children. So I would like to share some practices of extensive listening and extensive reading that we have conducted these past 3 years. Actually, this practice is mostly to support English learning, but also sometimes we do it in our first and vernacular language. Also, several examples in with various examples are provided here. Okay, let's start with this one. The first one, the one that we have done with extensive listenings are using storytelling, because there are not adequate sources of audio from native speakers, maybe. So we use manual things, storytelling using posters, puppets, and also picture books. And later on, pictures book will be in between extensive listening and extensive reading, because we can use it to tell stories, and also the students can also read it by themselves in their independent reading time or in group reading session. Okay, so I will start with the poster. So here, to fulfill the need to put local content into our storytelling, we made and designed our own past poster, which can contain local content in it. Here, so in order to so we could embed local content in English learning activities. Actually here, when we see here the story place setting, actually, although it is not written explicitly, usually people in Indonesia, facilitators, maybe teachers, might understand that this story is taking place in Sumatra, the eastern part island of Indonesia. We may notice it from the symbols in the poster, the way the plates are arranged here on the table, and how the waiter hold the plates. It indicates a very unique way people from Sumatra do it. Like and it happens in this certain kind of restaurant called Restoran Padang. It's a city from Sumatra. We can also notice the food prepared on the table, which are local food here, and how the people dress up, and also some details about eating utensils. Like here, we call it cobek, the one to make chili paste or sambal in Bahasa Indonesia. Right. And of course, facilitators should be familiar with this local knowledge to be able to story tell this to the learners. And before telling the stories, of course, some inquiry questions could be delivered, such as what are the people in the poster are doing? Are they celebrating something, or are they having dinner, and etc.? And are they at home, or are they in the restaurant? Where do you think do they live? We can mention, maybe, is it some cities in Indonesia, maybe? Is it in Jakarta, in Jogja, or in Padang? Are they family? And if we have a map, we can also use it for the children to make it clear of where is the position of the city mentioned in the story actually. Okay, and then the story visually, what is it? The story example can go like this. I will deliver it for 1 or 2 sentences from the story we used to tell to the children. It's November. It's Grandma's birthday. Grandma Aminah. And also when telling the story, usually we engage the students by asking them to point at the pictures and everything, and also to react maybe by making some movement. Grandma Aminah is turning 80 today. Wow, Grandma Aminah still looks beautiful and healthy. Look, Grandpa Amir, can you point at Grandpa Amir? Which one is he? Yes, this one. He looks very happy too. He sits beside Grandma Aminah, and in front of them, a large nasi tumpeng. Can you point at nasi tumpeng? Oh yeah, this one. Have you ever eaten nasi tumpeng? Do you like it? And everything. The children, look at that. The children, they can't wait to taste the fried chicken. It looks so yummy. And so on and so forth. And I believe that unconsciously learners may notice that although the story is delivered in English, the people told in the story are the people from their own country, and also the food and everything and how they dress up. Afterwards, we might like to tell another story as comparison for the learners. Here is another poster of a family. However, this family live far away in the country with English as the language, their first language to talk to each other. This poster we use is actually made and published by Finken Verlag Publishing House in Germany. The children may notice the differences between the first poster and the second poster, the physical appearances and how the people dress, and again, the food on the table. The story can go like this for this poster. Far away in England, and then we can stop there. Like, do you know where England is? Usually the children will be very busy discussing about where England is. And if we again can provide a map and point at the map and show how far it is from Indonesia, then it will be beautiful. Yes, it's far away from Indonesia. You have to get on a plane 4 hours or sail on a ship for many, many, many days to get there. And there live a family. It's the family of Mr. Brown and so on. Okay, and then we also design another poster here, another example of self-designed poster with local content nuance, but this one with the theme of animals. Usually children, young learners really like talking about pets and farm animals and also wild animals. For this poster, we choose Bali for the place setting, and you see here is the Buddha for what is it, the landmark that we choose to indicate that this is Bali. And also we mention it to the children when we tell the story. Also when we tell the story, we name the name we give to the characters in the story has the Balinese nuance. For example, this is Mr. Wayan, Pak Wayan, and this is Bumade. And for Bali has a very specific name, right? Okay, and also this poster, in this poster, we can also see that animals has also relation with occupation of the local people. Here we see the farmers is still using the help of a buffalo to plow the land and everything. I believe children also can grasp this one easily because this is something they can also witness in their everyday lives. And again, we can compare to another farm from another country. This is yet another poster from Finkenverlag from Germany. And so this is how the farm in Europe looks like. And then the children again can spot the differences. And also here from how the farmer dress and also the kind of animals which defined as farm animals and pets and everything. All right. And then here is the example of when we had activities with the children using these posters in our community. And also we use paper puppets or another kind of puppets to tell story for the children. And of course, we can easily put in local content to it. This one is an example of a story here that this one used to tell the story of Ajisaka. It's the legend about how Japanese people first found our local strip, which is called Honochoroko. Later on in this presentation, I will show you some example of this local script. The students usually really like when they are exposed to storytelling using materials like this, like they can hold the puppets and they can participate and engage very well. And now let's go to picture books. As I said earlier, picture books can be in the middle. Maybe the facilitators can use it for storytelling or use it for reading aloud. But at the same time, it also can be used for extensive reading in students' independent reading time. I would like to highlight maybe the content of the picture book rather than the technique of using it. So this is the first example that here that we had storytelling using this book, and also some students in our classes picked this book for their independent reading time. So this is again a story from Bali. The title is Dancing to the Beat, and we started reading it from the era of COVID pandemic. So this is online. You can find it in www.letsreadasia.org. There are plenty of picture books, also graded, like level 1 up to level 6, if I'm not mistaken. And it has been translated in many languages as well. And many countries in Asia also participated in this portal, which is very good. Okay, so this is again, by reading this story, it will give knowledge to children that Indonesia, it is, I will give example from Indonesia because Indonesia consists of many islands, and children living in Java might not know that there are other children living in other island which speaks another vernacular language which slightly different with theirs, is also still the citizens of Indonesia. So it is very important to let the students know that they are also children from Indonesia. So again, by reading this kind of book, it gives knowledge to children that Indonesia consists of many islands with many cultures and tradition. And okay, and here's also, I think the tolerance will grow. Yes, and they acknowledge that, what is it? This is a story of someone trying to get to learn to dance. And what beautiful about this book is that the character Mentari in this book is also a child with special need, which make the students to think deeper. Like these are the children's appreciation after they read the book in their own independent reading time. So this is from older child. She said about how she admired the main character about how Mentari doesn't want to give up, although she has many handicap. Okay, and this is another sample of story from Let's Read Asia as well. It is telling about a girl living in an orphanage, and again, it tells about a daily life culture of people helping each other, which is, I think, beautiful. Okay, and then now these are the choices for extensive reading that we have implemented so far, the one that is rich with local content as well. So higher level books and also chapter books with also still contain pictures, and middle grade novels. We also use middle grade novels and some authentic articles to make a comparison. All right, so I will start this one with this book. This is one of my favorite book published by Scholastic Asia. The title is Janggan's Dragon Kite. The writer comes from Indonesia, and I particularly know the author in person. So like we had a conversation too about how she made this book and how the publishers asked her to preserve the Bahasa Indonesia and some of Balinese words in this book. So this book is all written in English actually, but really Scholastic Asia is consciously aware of of how that the use of local language really give nuance in a children's storybook. So let me read these sentences from this page. The two boys were soon running towards the huge table that was laden with sweet and savory jajan. Jajan is an Indonesian word. Actually, it means snacks. But the Scholastic decide not to translate it, but they put it in glossarium at the end of the page. So that I believe this is a very good decision, because when children around the world reading this kind of story, they will realize, oh, what kind of language is that? Oh, such language exists. Where is it? And what culture is it? By using like a very simple word, it can draw many questions and curiosity, I think, in children. And let's continue. The ladies at the table serve Wira and Yoga a generous portion of delicious ayam betutu. Again, this one, ayam betutu, is not translated into English because it's a local delicacy from Bali. what is it? It made from chicken, something. Yeah. This one is my dear book, and I have ever reading it aloud and got it storytelling in a school here in Jogja, which consists of children with many nationalities, and it went very well. And this one is another book chosen by one of our learner in her independent reading time. The title of the book is I Have to Find a Way. Again, this is from letsreadasia.org. It is a story from East Nusa Tenggara. The story tells about a girl who was forced to get married in a very young age, but she was refused to get married in a very young age. She decided to find way not to get married in a very young age. Maybe she is at the age of 11 or 12, which is at the same age with our learners. So she can really relate, like, oh, there is another girl in another part of this island, another part of this country, which is the same age with me, but facing totally different problem, not homeworks, not daily activities, routine to school, but facing about how not to get married. And then she told us about it in her appreciation, that how the main character in the story doing many things, so she would not to get married. She tried to help her mother by making traditional clothes. She tried to sell coffee and everything. And at the end of the story, she made it. And many, of course, many local things in the picture are obviously can be seen there. And here is the appreciation from one of our learner, a girl too. She is 11 years old. She said, the story is exciting because the little girl was very creative. She doesn't want to get married because she is still young. Then she wants to help her mother to get some more money. She tries to weave, but she fails. So she is sad, and she sells some good coffee, and she did it. And she made fried buns, and she can sell it, actually this one, and she doesn't fail. I like this story because it's telling us to do not give up so fast. And this is very beautiful, and unconsciously, again, to children, they grasp the local thing about it unconsciously. And we go to the chapter books. We can find chapter books in literacycloud.org. This one is organized by Room to Read Foundation, which are providing many graded level book as well, picture books and chapter books, like from level 1 up to level 6. This is a very beautiful sad story about, wait a minute, I need to find my note on it. Yes, this is a very beautiful yet sad story about the tsunami event in 2004 in Indonesia, in Aceh. This one, I also know the writer in person, and also we have been invited the author to our reading group, and the children had asked so many questions to the authors about the background knowledge, about why she wrote the story and everything, and learned a lot from it. Again, from this one, the children learn that is another island in Indonesia that has a community of fishermen's family who live near the shore and is very vulnerable to earthquake and tsunami. And I would like to emphasize, to highlight the locality of this story is in this part here. So here in the story, there is a part about smong. Smong is a local wisdom of people in a Simelu, in a small island, a part of Aceh, who has like invented this song like 100 years ago when they were hit by tsunami. And when another huge tsunami happened in Aceh in 2004, the inhabitant of Simelu is the one with the least victim, who died in the event of tsunami, because they had smog. And in this one, we had actually a very dynamic discussion in my reading group, the children of 9 to 11 years old. And they were like me also, and also the children were surprised. Oh, there is such a local wisdom from Indonesia that we just know. They didn't even find it in their, in their school, in their classes. Oh, and then I also told them about Japan. Japan is also a vulnerable country that usually hit by earthquake and tsunami. But Japan has already built a very sophisticated system, warning system, disaster risk reduction, way better than Indonesia. But then look, actually Indonesia from 100 years ago, we have invented, some of the people have invented this kind of warning system in the form of song. So here is the vernacular language they use and pass it to one generation, another generation. This one that saved them from being the victim of the tsunami back then. This is how the song goes. This song tells us about a drowned village in the past. First, there was an earthquake, then came huge waves that swept away and all their inhabitants. Everything happened quickly. Since then, our parents have always warned us, when a strong earthquake is followed by a receding seawater, we must run to higher ground as soon as possible. So this one actually what saved the people in Simelu. We called the huge wave smog. This is why I told you about smog so many days ago, because my father knew we had to warn the next generation. Let's listen to how smog, the song. It's quite very sad in the tone. This song will last quite a long time. So that's the example. Okay, and here are some story appreciation written by the children reading the same book. Actually, they didn't write about smog, but we had the discussion orally when we were in the classroom. Okay, and the next one is another chapter book. The title is Candle Nuts for Tuto. And this book, actually, I wrote it myself, so I have adequate background knowledge on it. I can tell to the children because it's not written explicitly in the story. I have the knowledge that the story setting is in Lembata. It's a city from East Nusa Tenggara. So I can tell also the children about it, how Lembata looks like, and how do the people physically look like. And then this is a story about a child feeling guilty because he doesn't take care of his brother very well. So his brother get hurt and broke his toy car. And this boy wanted to replace the toy car with the new one, but he didn't have any money. So, but there is a traditional game that the children play in Lembata, which is called candle nuts throwing. Actually, it's just the same rules with any marble games many children play around the world. It's that the difference is just because they use the candle nut. Why do they use the candle nuts? Because it's their local commodity. So in Lembata, there are a lot of candle nut trees, and many people works in farming for candle nuts tree there in Lembata. So they use it for playing game, and later when they win some, they can sell it in a local shop to get some money. So that's what the the main character would like to do. And also there is some local thing that I can emphasize here. The story time setting refers to the era where electricity was not thoroughly distributed in Indonesia several years ago. Thus, the citizens in remote areas still utilize traditional ways to produce light. Again, they use candle nuts and also castor oil to make light. And we had a very beautiful discussion too with the children about this. And this one, when the main character actually sell the candle nuts to earn some money to buy his little brother a new toy car. Okay, and this is the story appreciation from the children about this story. He thinks that the story is really nice, a brother that's trying so hard to buy his little brother a new red toy car. And this one, I asked one more question to the students, what they learn about Indonesia from this story. And again, they mentioned the local community, the candle nut tree, and also about the electricity. And also we can not always from local to global, but we can also read something from other culture first and then compare it to our local culture. So the other day I read with my students Chuck Wagon Racing book, this one, about Canada, about the old cowboys and everything. And then later on, I proposed to my student, would you like to have a comparison what we have here in Indonesia? Actually, we have similar one called Tarapan Sapi, which come from Madura. And then later on, we can make this one like a comparison between those two. How Chuck Wagon Racing, about the origin, about the history, about the racing track and everything. And this one, this is a middle grade novel I found in the festival, which is very beautifully written. A childhood biography book consists of a lot of historical and cultural events in Singapore in the year of 30s. I think it's a very good book as an opening gate through cultural awareness discussion. And indeed, I have read it with our reading group. Here, this one, the children, we had a very lively discussion about night soil truck. It's the toilet system in Singapore, like from the year of 30s, and it didn't happen in Indonesia. And so in Indonesia happened, but not like this. People in Indonesia, back then, they usually do their toilet activities like in the river or something, but not like this. This one, people pick up the toilet things every night and everything, and it was so gross like that. And we learn a lot from this. And also we talk about letter writer back then when not a lot of people are literate, and we like to, compare it, whether we have it also in Indonesia or not. Also, we compare it with Japan because we have ever watched such anime from Japan that also has a letter writer character in it. And also this one is an ice ball seller, And we discussed a lot about it as well, comparing to Indonesians, because we have very similar sellers here in Indonesia. And also here is a festival, Lantern Festival, usually conducted by Chinese ethnics. And again, we can compare it also to Indonesia, because in Indonesia, there are a lot of Chinese ethnics living in Indonesia as well. And last but not least, this one are the examples of books in vernacular languages and local script that I published with my publishing house. So this one is the book with Javanese language and Honocoroko, the local script of Jawa. And this one is the local script from Sulawesi called Aksara Lontara, and it is written in Mandar language, the vernacular of Bugis people, Makassar people in Sulawesi. And this one is written in Bahasa Muhan, one of vernacular language from East Nusa Tenggara. There are still many more hundreds of vernacular language in Indonesia. This one is the ones I could document it until today. So let's help young learners to grow deeper in their cultural root in today's global world. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if you would like to have further chat with me, you can contact me through email.